Hello, magical people. My name is Lou, and I would like to welcome you back to my channel. The heater just kicked on, so please disregard that noise in the background, and my apologies if it is very, very annoying. But anyhow, back to the matter at hand, which is some readings for you guys. So I've got 4 readings for you to choose from. You can pick 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can pretty much use any metric that you would like to choose which reading belongs to. But today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. So I haven't actually selected the cards for the 4 readings yet, but I did select what I'm kind of thinking of as like the fairy card. So I have a fairy deck, and I pulled 4 fairy cards just to kind of get a general idea of what the rest of the reading will be speaking to. So if you'd like to hear a little bit more about the fairy cards and what those readings are, then just hang on and we will get right to it. The first fairy card that we pulled is the fairy who was kissed by pixies. And as you can see, there is a lot of brightness in this card. This card speaks of love. It speaks of love given and love received, as well as the ways in which it's time to open our hearts and to heal our hearts. So that is going to be reading 1, the fairy card for reading 1. Again, the fairy who is kissed by the pixies. The second reading is going to be guided by fairies of the future. And the energy of this card speaks to both being where you are, but in a mindful kind of way, where there's a reassessment and sort of looking back at how you've gotten to where you are and having some intention setting for where you're going in the future. So this is all about moving forward. The third reading is the Maiden, and this card is kind of similar in nature to the energy of the Fool and the Sun from the classic tarot deck. It's a lot of that like auspicious beginnings and the birth of new hope and joy, and also our own inner child and the ways in which new things being birthed into the world are vulnerable. And so, and again, with the inner child, when we have an inner child who is seeking to express himself in a new way, and that's what brings that feeling of joy to what we're doing, that also can be a time of vulnerability because it means that we are putting ourselves out there in a new way and starting new things. And then the fourth reading that we have is going to be guided by Penelope Dreamweaver. And this card speaks of inspiration, and it speaks of magical dreams and visions and getting in touch with our intuition and the sort of pointing to the fact that when we have fantasies or dreams while we're sleeping or even daydreams that feel fun and exciting to us, there's often some subtle hints, sometimes not so subtle, but oftentimes subtle. There are subtle hints within those daydreams and fantasies that can sort of help us uncover the nuggets of those inspiration and learn how to expand on them. So again, that's the 4 readings that we're going to be doing. The first one guided by the fairy who is kissed by the pixies, speaking of love given, love received, opening your heart and healing. The second one, fairies of the future, speaking about where you are now, looking back, reassessing, and setting your intentions for moving forward. The maiden, which is something brand new and vulnerable, but full of the potential for joy and creativity. And again, Penelope Dreamweaver, speaking to our intuition and those things that we find inspiration in. And I will insert a still of those 4 cards as well. I am going to go through and I'm going to move the camera so that you can get a view of the decks as I'm going through them, and I'm going to pull the 4 piles live, on camera anyhow, and try something new. Okay, magical people. Well, this was a lot more complicated, and I should have put some more thought into it. I have no idea how people do this, but anyhow, we have our oracle cards here, and we have some tarot cards, and we are just going to go ahead across the top here. We've got our 4 guiding fairy cards, and we are just going to get these piles put together. So let's see, a Nature's Miracle card for group 1. Yeah. Group 2. Ooh. Feeling this one for group 3. And that one for group 4. And we also have the Moon Oracle. We'll be pulling one from this deck for each of the piles as well. I wonder if I should maybe keep these on top so you can see them. Like I said, I did not put very much forethought into this, so I appreciate your sitting through my bumbling through it. It doesn't look great, but that's all right. Okay, so a Moon Oracle card for group 1. Ooh, that one. All right. Oh, okay. And group 4 gets 2 of those moon cards. That's exciting. And we also have, these are the Animal Oracle cards. So again, we're going to be pulling one for each of the 4 readings. Animal Oracle card for group 1. Okay, and then we are also going to pull some tarot cards for each of the 4 piles. A couple of cards, please, for group 1. Okay, that one. Ooh, that's a whole big pile. Ooh, that one's a yes. These are a no. Any other cards that are supposed to come through with group 1? That one, and that one, and that one. Okay. Group 2. Our fairies of the future. Okay. And group 3, our maiden fairy. And there goes the heat again. Sorry guys, it's winter and the videos end up being long enough, and this is an old enough home that it gets pretty chilly just having it off for a few hours. Okay, and group 4. Some tarot cards for group 4, please. Okay, I'm hearing right off the bat those 2 from the bottom. All right. So here we have it. We have group 4, our Penelope Dreamweaver pile. And we have group 3, our maiden pile. Group 2, our fairies of the future. And group 1, our fairies that have been kissed by the pixies. Oh, that is not a direct line at all. So here we go. We have our 4 piles. I'm going to move the camera back to its original position, and we will go ahead and jump right into reading 1. Reading 1, if you selected the fairy who has been kissed by the pixies, then this is going to be your reading. And to start off with, ooh, we have an oracle card of higher ground. And, you know, I'm seeing that there's a few things in this card. What do we get when we move to higher ground? Do we get a different perspective? We may also be in a place where we are feeling defensive in some way, and like we have to get to higher ground to sort of escape the swampiness of badness. There's this like need to move to a higher ground. We'll get a little bit more into that. We also have here, you and your loved ones are safe. So this is really interesting. I'm feeling like when I was first talking about this fairy who is kissed by the pixies, you know, one of the things that I initially mentioned is that it's about love given, about love received, and also about opening our heart and allowing our hearts to heal. And I feel like so far anyways, that's the predominant energy that's coming through, is that, you know, you're being asked to remember that, or to know that you and your loved ones are safe, and to allow yourself to get a little bit of a different perspective, allow yourself to move to some higher ground so that healing can happen. We also have, ooh, the butterfly spirit transformation is beautiful. That is really beautiful. Oh, and it's also, I don't know that I've ever noticed this before, it's card number 11, which is, you know, one of my very favorite numbers. And, you know, like, yeah, I feel like there's this allowing your heart to be open, especially if you're coming out of a place where there has been a lot of fear or a lot of uncertainty, or like I said, like you've been feeling like you had to be defensive. That can be a hugely transformational process, and like your guides are wanting you to know that that transformation, if you can allow it to happen, if you can allow yourself to step into that place of being vulnerable and allowing your heart to be open, then there can be some really beautiful transformation coming for you. So now let's take a look at the tarot cards that we have. Oh, wow, guys. Okay, so we have, first of all, the Page of Cups, and we have the Knight of Swords, we have the Ten of Pentacles, very auspicious. We also have the Knight of Wands. Oh, lots of energy movement. And we also have the Hierophant. Wow, lots of court cards here. There's lots of messages that want to come through here about stepping into a new space and having a more, like with this card, you know, I often think of the Hierophant as, you know, typically tradition, tradition, you know, it can be schools, it can be institutions, it can be churches. The Hierophant is the sort of figure that sort of sat in between the authority and the people, so to speak. So in the church, you know, the Hierophant was the person who would speak the truth of their religion to the people who would listen to them. And oftentimes, you know, especially when you look back at the history of the church, there were many parishioners who weren't able to read, and so the Hierophant had access to additional wisdom and is in some ways kind of a gatekeeper for that wisdom. And the message that I'm getting from here is that you're actually being invited to unlock the key to this wisdom for yourself, rather than relying on a middleman to bring that information to you. You know, your guides are wanting to let you know that you actually have access to this key, and you know, you're not one of these guys down here without the tools or the skills or the perception of having the tools and the skills. Like, you've already sort of ascended to this spot where you already have the key, where you already hold the keys. It's just a matter of turning it in the lock and allowing things to flow. But it's interesting too here, because we have this Ten of Pentacles card. You know, I really feel like this is the big message that's coming through, is that you are being, your guides are wanting you to know that this really is a time to not only open your heart and allow your heart to heal from past wounds and past fears, but to also use that as an opportunity, use that heart opening as an opportunity to really tune in and really hone in on the things you actually want, so that you can start taking Pentacle style concrete steps and action plans towards them. it's really interesting. There's a lot of healing that's happening here, you know, particularly with the way that you think about yourself. I feel like you've been trying to change the way that you think about and engage with yourself, and that's been quite a challenge for you. But I also see that, like, allowing this heart opening is going to bring some inspiration and bring some creativity to the way, or bringing creativity to the process, and to the way, letting yourself play. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, there's something about letting yourself be where you are, letting yourself be in a state of curious play about things can really help to move your energy. So if yeah, you know, it's interesting too. I'm just kind of like looking at these cards, and so many of them are like, just take a look at these two, for example. You know, what's going on here really in these cards? We have things are moving and rapidly, and I feel like there's like there's a need to really drive things forward. Like, I feel like your guides are really urging you to take this step towards your own healing, and that they're implying an interesting sense of urgency, or like, it's not that they're implying urgency. What is it? It's like they're kind of saying, like, this is the thing that you have been waiting for. This is the moment that you have been waiting for. So if you can show up and be in a place of non-resistance around it, then that will allow this transformation to happen. So I feel like, you know, maybe you're coming out of a place that was where you were kind of going through some difficulties. Maybe you were worrying about yourself, or worrying about your loved ones, or feeling like there was some sort of danger that was happening. And it may even be that those fears and those anxieties weren't based in what was happening in present day, but were actually based in things that you'd previously experienced. So like, your guides are wanting you to know that, like, it's okay to change the way you think about things and change your perception of things. And being in a state of worry a lot, and being in a state of anxiety, doesn't actually prevent things from happening. It just gives us something to worry about. It just gives us, you know, ways to spend our energy, and your guides are wanting you to transmute that. And I think too, here with the number 11, like, one of the things that's really interesting about the number 11 is that there's so much duality in it, because it's both two ones, which are being all about, which are all about being very independent and standing on your own and being in a space of leadership. But then, of course, when you add one and one together, you get two, and twos are all about partnership and being part of a team and working in a collaborative way towards goals. And so there's this, like, push-pull that shows up inherently with the number 11, and I feel like that is really kind of coming through in this energy, or that energy is coming through in this reading, that there's this opportunity to cohesively, what am I trying to say here? There's an opportunity to mend some things that have needed to be mended. Perhaps this is even, like, really old, unresolved stuff that's showing up in present day, and that is putting you back in a place where, you know, maybe you're feeling like you need to find that higher ground, like you're feeling defensive, or you're feeling scared, or like old anxieties are being triggered. But, like, you know, again, that's really just about all about perception, because the reality here is that, you know, you do have the key to the information that you need to make the decisions and decide what you want to go after. So there's kind of this energy in this, is like the fairy who is kissed by the pixies, like, the message that they want to send is one of love, and one of asking you to remember, even if it's not consciously, that place of perfect love and perfect union that we can have within ourselves, that will allow us to be in that place where we are able to identify the dreams that we want to move towards, identify the things in our life that we really want. And it's going to be really different for all of us. You know, some people want a big family with lots of children. Some people don't want any children at all. Some people don't even really want a romantic partner in that way. Some people, it may be a job, it may be a calling, it may be a purpose or a project. You know, it's going to look completely different for everybody. But the message that your guides are wanting to send you and the fairies are wanting to send you with this card is to allow yourself to be in the moment and not misperceive the present moment through the lens of things that you've experienced in your past. There's a real call here to move out that old energy, to just let these nights kind of chase that energy away and bring you back into this present moment so that you can make autonomous choices going forward. And I don't even think I've addressed this Page of Cups here too, but like the message that's really coming through here is, again, just one of healing, one of self-healing. And I'm kind of the belief that all healing is self-healing. And you're really being asked to notice that this really is an opportunity for you to do that. You've done so much work. You are so blessed in so many ways, and there's so much love within you and around you, and that it may just be sort of some of this older stuff that's still lingering, that's kind of keeping you from being able to see that as clearly as your guides want you to. Because once you can really clearly see that, again, that's when you can take those steps towards unlocking your own dreams and your own vision of what you want your future to be. So group one, I hope you found this helpful, and I would love to hear your stories. Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching my videos, and don't forget to leave a like, a comment if you have a suggestion for a reading. I'd love to hear it, and until next time, please don't forget to be kind and gentle with yourselves. Group 2, if you selected the Fairies of the Future and wanted to find out more about this particular time in your life, where you are being invited to both look back, notice where you are and how you've gotten here, and with intention and with mindfulness moving forward. So if we're going to expand on that initial message right now. And our first oracle card is Amplify Your Positive Emotions. And that makes sense, and that makes sense. And there is, I'm seeing already a little bit of similarity with reading one about, you know, in order to move into the future, we have to, I mean, heck, even in order to show up fully in our present moment, we have to be willing to let go of some things from the past. And that can mean refocusing on the things that feel good to you now, can shine a light on where you would be best served to set your intentions going forward. Let's see, we also have here the turtle spirit. Oh, I love it. Slow and steady wins the race. And the turtle is such a creature of wisdom. And their lives are so long that, you know, I think you're being invited here to, as you don't feel like you need to rush into your future, is kind of one of the initial messages that I'm getting here. Like, you know, your guides are really wanting you to, yeah, again, just re-emphasize that spirit of like being here now and actually noticing where you are and taking time to amplify the things that feel good to you, and remembering that, like, going fast through your own life, like that's who's the race against? Like there is no hare, there is no rabbit, but the tortoise, well, this is a turtle, not a tortoise, but similar idea. You know, there is nobody that you're racing against to get to some distant point in your future. So, you know, you're really being called on to both be mindful of the future, but also not to the exclusion of showing up now. So like one of the ways that I can think of that this might show up is, you know, somebody who is always saying, oh, I have to do this now, you know, for the future, for the future, for the future, for the future. But like the future is always some can that's being kicked down the road, and people just spend years just not showing up for their life right now. And I speak from personal experience. We also have here the Leo, new moon in Leo. Confidence is your key to success. And I love that also, you know, you've gotten two animals here that have shown up, and they are animals of such grandeur and grace and restraint in a way, you know. So there is, you know, again, there's having confidence in the fact that you can steadily move towards the place that you're wanting to go, in the future, and the intentions that you're wanting to set, but that you are doing so mindfully, you know, like look at that direct gaze. Like it's just looking right into your soul. Let's see, we also have here for, oh, cool, guys, this is awesome. All right, so for tarot cards, we have the Judgment card, we have the Star card, we have the Six of Cups, and we have the Two of Pentacles, the Eight of Cups, and the Five of Pentacles. So yeah, you know, it's really interesting. There is kind of some similarity here with reading one. So, you know, feel free to go back and listen to that one as well. But it feels very much here like with this whole idea of being present, you know, part of what that means is, okay, I'm gonna interrupt myself and point out this guy at the top of the card who has eyes, one looking in each direction, one looking towards the past and one looking towards the future. And of course, that's very difficult to do at the same time. I mean, literally, it's very difficult to do. But there is this feeling of like looking to your own past and in some ways letting that guide you towards your wish fulfillment as you move forward. So there really is it's interesting. It's not looking back in the way of like drowning yourself in nostalgia or rehashing old things. It's not like that language at all. It's more about kind of taking the nuggets of your past experiences and allowing yourself to sort of reassess them and kind of go through, particularly you know, and maybe looking at the lessons that you've learned from some of the harder experiences in your life and what you really gained out of them. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I'm really, the message that I'm feeling is that, you know, your guides are really wanting you to do some journaling. And I am not a person who's like, I have my own struggles with regularly journaling. I know it's a great idea. I don't do it nearly as often as I would like to. But I really feel like there's something about here about even like jotting down your past experiences, the ones that you're thinking of right now, whatever it is that you think of when I say past experience, you've probably got some sort of melange of different experiences that you've had that were lessons to be learned or things that you took some wisdom, whether it was through having a win or having a loss. Either way, you gained some wisdom from those experiences, and trying to look at them through a new set of eyes, and trying to sort of change, rather than looking at those experiences and seeing only the hard things, to really highlight the lessons that you learned from them. And within those, you're gonna find some nuggets of what to like cast your line towards the future in. And I also feel like with this Eight of Cups here that, you know, there's, you know, maybe you've already been in a place of learning to heal and learning to be present and choose, like set your intentions, choosing and setting your intentions for the future. Maybe this is kind of like a healing arc that you're already on, but I think it's interesting that the first card that came out was about amplifying your positive emotions, and then the last card that came out was the Eight of Cups. And you know, the Eight of Cups is about moving away from experiences that no longer serve us, looking back on our past and understanding the cups that we have spilled, but also choosing to set our gaze on a brighter future and making our way towards that. And so I feel like, you know, even though this may be kind of new to you, really making this conscious assessment of where you are, how you've gotten here, what you want to do with that information to bring you forward to where you want to go. Even though that may be new and it may feel a little chaotic, you know, and that's kind of coming through with this Two of Pentacles energy, is it feels like maybe you're in a place where, you know, even thinking about doing that maybe feels a little overwhelming. And again, you know, your guides are wanting you to remember that, like, you know, slow and steady, slow and steady. And again, with this fairies of the future, it's not, in order to show up for ourselves in the future, we need to be where we are now and acknowledge where we've been in the past. So there's this, if you find this sort of reassessment process overwhelming at all, or feels confusing to you, or if you feel like you don't have a lot of discernment about it, then it's okay. Just keep moving forward and you will continue to gain more clarity over that situation as you move into your future, always staying present. Because what's the better way of saying that? As we stay present, we are also moving into the future. So don't feel like you have to have everything figured out now. I feel like that's a really, really big message that your guides are wanting to hear, is that you don't have to have it all figured out now. It's okay to just keep moving step by step and building towards that star, that wish fulfillment. Like, you don't have to know exactly how you want everything to look right now. It's enough to say, this is where I've been, this is what I've taken from it, this is where I'd like to go from here, without having every detail in place, and just allowing yourself to move in the present moment and almost keep that sort of star energy a little bit open, keep letting it just keep glimmering in the distance and moving towards it. And sure enough, as you get closer and closer, it will become more clear. So group 2, I hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and if you have a video suggestion, I'd love to hear it. And until next time, please don't forget to be kind and gentle with yourself. Hello, group 3. If you selected the Maiden as your fairy guide for this pick a card reading, then this in fact will be a reading for you. So again, tuning into that energy of newness and bringing auspicious new beginnings and opportunities for growth, and an opportunity to let our inner child come out to play. And also remembering that if we are letting our inner child out to play, that's also an opportunity for us to reparent that inner child, and to reparent in a competent and respectful and way that is both kind in the moment and will serve our inner child in the future as well. So it's not about spoiling the inner child in any way. We have here for our first oracle card, show your support. Ooh, interesting, interesting. Yeah, and I feel like, you know, maybe there's somebody that you want to reach out to. Maybe even it's somebody that's new in your life or newly come back into your life, and that, yeah, they could use some support. And it's interesting here because I'm wondering, you know, there's 3 humanoid type characters in this card, and none of them really look like they need support. So this isn't so much a matter of showing up to help. Sometimes showing your support for people or situations doesn't necessarily mean taking on a burden in any way. It's just a matter of showing, sometimes it's just a matter of showing your appreciation and showing your care. So that's interesting. Let's see what else we have here. For a moon card, we have your dreams need a practical plan. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, full moon in Taurus. So that's really interesting here. So we have this new thing, this auspicious beginning that has come to you or is about to come to you. And it's really requiring you to actually show up. It's requiring you to engage and to participate. But it's also something that is asking you to make a practical plan for that participation. We also have the ant spirit here. My goodness, can't make this stuff up. Time to collaborate. So yeah, there is a real, like, you know, it's almost like I just got this really interesting picture of, like, you know, you kind of sort of nurturing this new, it kind of looked like a little ball of light. And it was like you had all of the tools and the skills in this little mind picture to make this little ball of light a big ball of light, but then and to like let it really grow and become huge. But then I see somebody else coming in, and it's not that you need somebody help, but it's just working together and collaborating with a person is going to be mutually beneficial all the way around to help bringing this to fruition. Okay, let's see what we have for tarot cards. Ah, sweet. We have the Queen of Cups. Oh, we have the Empress. I love so much that this came up with the Maiden, because, you know, this is very young energy, and this is very new energy, and it's very vulnerable energy. And the Empress is the Earth Mother. Like, this is the archetypally feminine energy of nurturing and mothering and caring for and loving. And I'm just so, and I mean the Queen of Cups too, like, yeah, oh my goodness. Okay, we also have the Page of Swords and the Two of Wands. Very nice. And the Ace of Cups. So again, just that new joyous beginning. If you haven't already experienced this coming into your life, this energy of the Maiden, this energy of the Ace of Cups, then keep your eyes open. And what's interesting, I think, is that with this needing a practical plan, like, you know, usually cups are all about emotions, but usually we don't think of our emotions as needing a practical plan in order to achieve. So I feel like this isn't necessarily strictly about a new emotional truth for you or a new relationship for you. I feel like more this Ace of Cups is more talking about, again, this energy of the Maiden, and that this is about something new and growing within you and within your life that is going to lead to a lot of emotional fulfillment, but it's going to be something that you are actually doing in your life. You know, and I see here a lot of setting of intentions around this, and I wonder if, yeah, for some of you at least, I feel like setting the intentions within that collaborative spirit of showing your support and the ant spirit of a time to collaborate, I feel like that's going to be very pivotal here. And it's interesting. I'm wondering if for some of you, and you know, please do always let me know what resonates. I'm always so curious to hear people's stories. But I feel like for some of you, this is going to be a new opportunity to collaborate in this way, and this is why there's so much excitement and why your guides are wanting to encourage you into it. You know, and there's also, with this energy of the Queen of Cups, you know, your guides are wanting you to know that even though you're going to be collaborating with people, that this energy of the Maiden, this is just yours. It's not so much that it needs other people to exist, so much as other people will enhance the opportunity or allow you to enhance your opportunities to really stepping into that newness and that new adventure. And like I said in the intro, like this maiden card, it really is kind of a combination of the sun and the fool card, because there's so much joy in it, but it is also vulnerably and naively like a child stepping into a new energy, which can be a little bit, kind of new and kind of scary. So like, again, when you are feeling that kind of energy of nervousness of maybe stepping into something new, that's just the inner child letting you know that he or she or they are a little bit afraid of what's to come. And that's when you can really embrace that inner archetype of the inner parent, and the kind inner parent. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with any of this lingo, but I suspect that you are. But whenever we talk about the inner child, that's also an opportunity to reparent the inner child, which means that we have to also be the parent to ourselves. So it's about kind of wearing both of those hats at once. And the inner child, they can be tough to work with sometimes, depending on what your experiences are, and if you've never really allowed that inner child energy of just joy and curiosity, if you've not allowed as an adult that energy to really come through a whole lot, it can feel a little scary, and it can feel sometimes we won't even necessarily recognize it as fear. It might be that we recognize it as like, oh, it's just silly. Like, we'll almost look down on it and think that somehow that childlike joy within us is something to be disregarded in a way. But if we can take a step back and really see what's happening there and think of ourselves as being a singular, dynamic individual with lots of other component parts within, then it can be a little bit easier to see that we're shutting ourselves down. So like, if we have, I'm trying to think of an example, and of course I can't, but when we have something that we're really excited about and that makes us feel like excited and almost like effervescent internally, and then there's another part of our brain that shows up and is like, ah, that's a silly dream. You could never do that. Or why would you even want to do that? That's just dumb. Like, if we have parts of ourselves that show up and negate that inner child, then, that can be really kind of damaging. And so your guides are wanting to let you know that as this new, vivacious, excited energy is making itself known in your life, be mindful of the way that you speak to that sense of excitement within yourself, and whether you show up for that sense of excitement within yourself with encouragement and compassion, but also with, some boundaries. Because again, if we imagine this energy as being childlike, it's not like we don't want to have boundaries with that inner child as well. Sometimes giving in too much to what the inner child wants can be just as detrimental to disregarding the inner child at all. So it's kind of like with a real child. If you want to go and play in the park with your children or with your friends or whatever, then that's great to do. But there's also a time when you have to go home, wash your hands, and have yourself some dinner and get yourself some time to rest. And so if we can approach that with the spirit of nurturing and love and allowing that inner child out to play while also having boundaries around that, then that is going to be a big part, I think, of putting this practical plan in place. So it's like letting that sense of joy lead you and help you set your intentions towards the future and towards making practical steps in collaborating towards whatever this dream is for you. And that's just going to allow it to flourish even more. It's really interesting energy because it's both very inward looking and also very outward looking, and very kind of extroverted is the way. Like again, I'd be super curious to hear how this resonates with you, but I feel like this energy of the maiden, this newness, even though it is something that's going to bring a lot of emotional growth for you and a lot of opportunities to collaborate and skill build and work with people and get a lot of fulfillment out of that, you know, I kind of also feel like it's going to be something that you do. Like it's going to be something that shows up in the real world. It's like, I wonder if this is like a new business idea or a new creative idea or something like that that's just really got you super excited. But anyhow, I think it's, you know, I think you lean into that sense of joy and that sense of excitement. But remember that you do also have to be a parent to the child and have a practical plan so that that energy can really fully bloom and see the fullness of its potential. So group 3, I hope you found this helpful. I would love to hear from you, comments, or if you have a suggestion for a future reading, I'd love to hear that. And until then, don't forget to be kind and gentle with yourself. Group 4, if you selected Penelope Dreamweaver as your fairy guide through this reading, then this one is for you. So again, we're going to flesh out a little bit more here, but just to remind you, Penelope Dreamweaver speaks of inspiration and our dreams and our fantasies and how we can find actual things, though they may be subtle, we can find actual messages of inspiration all around us, just simply in the things that we daydream about. So let's find out a little bit more about what's going on here. First oracle card we have is Seek Beauty. And isn't that true how inspiring beauty can be? Even just, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's a beautiful song that you're listening to, or if it's a sensation that feels good to you, or thinking about something feels beautiful in your mind, or looking at a beautiful landscape or something like that. All of those things can be very effervescent energy, and that can be very inspiring. And once we allow ourselves to be open to that space of inspiration, then it begins to flow even more. And we had, oh yes, that's right, group 4 was the one that had 2 moon cards. So we have Take Time to Breathe Out. Oh, interesting, interesting. And we also have Prosperity Lies Ahead. Well, that is beautiful. It's interesting. I feel like with that Take Time to Breathe Out card, if this hasn't been a time for you where you've been feeling like it's this taking in, but holding that tension rather than breathing out and allowing that tension to move. And if you have been finding that the reason why you selected this reading was because you have been feeling like it's been a little bit difficult to get into that space of inspiration and that space of intuitive knowing and creatively being guided towards the things that we want to move towards, if you've been feeling like that hasn't been flowing very well, one of the messages that I'm really getting here is that in addition to seeking beauty, also it's just about allowing yourself to relax. Because when we are rigid, or when we are tight or uptight or holding our energy rigidly, that can really stop the flow of energy happening. So, you know, you are being, one, informed that prosperity lies ahead. So, so just trust in that and relax. We also have Mouse Spirit of Tending to the Small Things. Oh, I love this. I love this. Oh, and all right, so for tarot cards, we have the Two of Swords. We have the Wheel of Fortune. We have the Six of Swords. And we have the Four of Swords. Oh, so much swords energy here. This is really fascinating, group 4. And I think, you know, look at this. So with this Take Time to Breathe Out, and then with this Four of Swords card, like the Four of Swords speaks of being in a place of stillness. And more and more this card speaks to me of being in a place of non-resistance and being in a place of relaxed non-resistance, because if we aren't relaxed, then it's not really non-resistance, is it? It's just a different kind of resistance. But I feel like, yeah, there is very much your guides are wanting you to know that if you can just relax into this moment, and I feel like that may be difficult for you, because I feel like the energy that you feel right now is that you don't know which way to go, because you don't feel like you have enough clarity, you don't know which decisions to make, you're not sure, like it just feels very muzzy, you know, it feels like there's kind of like you're spinning in circles looking for the thing that's going to inspire you out of that circle. All the while not taking an actual time to stop spinning and making yourself dizzy. It's really interesting energy. I feel here like with the Six of Swords, you know, this is also an opportunity to move away from thoughts and ideas that aren't helpful to you anymore. And again, that's part of being in that place of non-resistance, just letting things fall away that no longer work for you. And if you can do that, then you will find that your inspiration will flow a lot more. It's interesting here. Okay, so I'm seeing a picture. So with the Mouse spirit of tending to the small things, and also with the Wheel of Fortune, interestingly, so I kind of feel like you may feel like there's a lot of chaos and that there are some big going-ons energetically for you right now, and that's what's inspiring that desire to lean into that inspiration. But it almost is kind of like if you kind of just take your eye off of the big thing for a moment, then and tend to the smaller things instead, like literally allowing yourself to rest, allowing yourself to be still, then and also allowing yourself to seek out the things that feel beautiful to you, then a lot of that chaos will naturally ease. It's kind of like moving towards the center, which brings me to the Wheel of Fortune card. Is that one of the things that I often think about with this card is, so I don't think they have them on the playground anymore because they're hella dangerous, but when I was a little kid, there was always these little things, these structures on a playground that would spin. And when you would jump on, if it was spinning, if you were at the outside, then you were subject to all of that. I can never remember if it's centrifugal or centripetal, but you were subject to all of that force, and that, you know, little kids would get flung off as it would spin faster and faster. They'd get flung off the sides, which I think is probably why there's not very many of those structures around on playgrounds anymore. But the neat thing about that was that if you could move towards the center of that structure, then it didn't really so much matter how fast it was spinning, because you were in the center of it. And so you could actually be sort of still with all of that chaos still happening around you and just not having it impact you in quite the same way as if you were just around the fray and around the edges of it. So I kind of feel like there's a lot of that energy going on right now. Like there's maybe you've been worrying about prosperity coming to you, or you've been really trying to figure out what you want to move towards or what your dreams are, or maybe you've been struggling to find inspiration at all. But it's all right there. It's all right there. It's just a matter of getting yourself to a place of centered stillness so that you can see it, so that you can perceive all of that inspiration's there. Because like the picture I just got in my mind is that, like, you know, your energy right now is kind of, okay, so I used to do this thing when I was a little kid. There was a very small bathroom that I shared with my sisters, and I would sometimes, This is weird. I can't believe I'm sharing this on a video that I'm putting out on the internet. But I would sometimes go in there and with one of those super bouncy balls. I don't know if you know those super bouncy balls, but you can get them for like a quarter out of the machines outside of the grocery store or whatever. And I would kind of go into this one corner of the bathroom and sort of like prepare by kind of, this is before I had glasses, kind of prepare by like kind of covering my eyes. And then I would just wing that thing and it would just bounce and ricochet all over. And I kind of feel like that's a little bit what your energy is like right now. Like there's a lot of movement and there's a lot of chaos, and it's like there's a lot of looking for the thing, but it's almost like there's so much movement looking for the thing that you can't see it. You're just walking by it over and over and over again. And I don't know, have you ever done that? Like sometimes trying to get out of the house, I've got my list of things that I go through, phone, keys, wallet, all that stuff. But sometimes I'll be like, oh, I wanted to grab that thing, but I'll be running a little bit late. And because I'm running late, I'm not mindfully present to what's actually happened. So I'll walk by the thing that I'm looking for 5 or 6 times without ever even seeing it. And then it's not until I'm able to stop, take a moment, take a deep breath, and be like, okay. And then I'll notice it's right there, just a few feet away. So it's kind of like that energy of like, if you can take the time to breathe out, seek the things that you find beautiful in some way and relax into them and allow yourself some stillness with that sense of beauty, then certainly you will be able to spy the subtle energy of inspiration that Penelope Dreamweaver is wanting to bring into your space. I feel like there was something else that I was going to say about that Six of Swords. Yeah, I think actually just what I was going to say is really just kind of backing up what I just said. Is if you kind of look at what this crow is doing here in this beautiful picture, and what he's doing is he's flying out of the chaos. He is choosing to not be in that chaotic energy anymore so that he can fly in peace and recognize the things that are beautiful. So there is, sometimes we keep ourselves in a space of energetic titillation, I guess, or energetic distraction, because sometimes it can feel uncomfortable to be still. And if that's something that you're experiencing, then rather than leaning away from that energy by finding new things to distract you, I think it's actually more about leaning into that energy of stillness and allowing yourself to witness that chaos that you've been experiencing. Witness it by removing yourself from it. And once there's some clarity and you get a little bit of a different experience from it, then you might see, oh, I was keeping myself in this place of distracted busyness because I'm scared, or some part of me is scared to own this thing that inspires me, because it's when something truly inspires us, there is again kind of a feeling of vulnerability that can come along with that, because if you lean into the things that inspire you, then you are putting yourself out there in a way. You are making a part of yourself authentically known in a way, and that can feel very vulnerable. So sometimes, especially if we've had life experiences that have led us to places where we don't feel as though being vulnerable has worked out for us very well in the past, then we can get kind of an aversion to being in that place. But all of that inspiration, all of that energy of magic and visions and being able to be in touch with your own intuition, it is all right there for you, Group 4. It really is. It's all around you. It's just a matter of letting yourself be still enough to sense it, because it is subtle energy. And like most things subtle, if we're moving too fast or we're moving too much, we just might miss it. So again, your guides are just wanting you to take a time out and move away from the edges of the chaos towards that inner stillness that you have within you. So, Group 4, I hope you found this helpful. It has been a pleasure as always. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you have a suggestion for a future reading, I would love to hear it. And until then, please don't forget to be kind and gentle with yourselves. Take care.